moved out of the townhome there on the beach. After living there for a year, I went and rented a little 3-bedroom house kind of in suburbia land, you know. Nice little home, nice little neighborhood, mostly older people around me, you know. I figured, heck, it's got a backyard, it's nice, it's okay. So I moved in there and I was being active on things, you know, I shouldn't have been doing. And my neighbor guy next door, he'd lost his wife a few years before, and he was always talking to me, and I liked the guy, right? One day I'm coming home in the morning, I swung around the turn, and before I turned down my road, there was like 50 cop cars out in front of my house. So I kind of kept going straight, and kind of fell back and looked at the scenario from another angle, and they were going in and out of my neighbor's house, all in boxes, in and out of this old man's house. So I got brave and went right home, pulled my driveway. I said, wow, the cops are all there. I said, what's going on? They said, it's your neighbor. He's a counterfeiter. I said, a counterfeiter? He goes, yeah, we're taking out $25, $30 million worth of printed up money he had in the basement.
Wow.
I said, what? Well, come to find out, the guy gets out on bail, and, you know, I'm talking to him. I go, what, Ed, what was going on? He goes, well, I bought one of them laser printers. He goes, and I just started printing up money. He goes, I was buying reams of paper. The paper didn't even feel like real money. He goes, I was just printing it up and cutting it up for something to do in the basement. He goes, I wasn't going to try to spend it or nothing. He goes, I don't know what I was thinking. I said, wow. So, like I said, Ed, so, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You know, so he got in trouble for that. Well, now I'm living there at this little house, and let's see, several months go by, and the next thing I know, I come home, and Ed meets me at the fence. He goes, hey, Brink. Should have been home earlier. A plane went over and dropped a bag of that shit that they smoked, that cocaine stuff. He goes, a whole duffel bag landed. Look what it did to my shrubs back here. I'm going, a duffel bag full of cocaine out of a plane. I said, what'd you do with it, Ed? Oh, I called the police right away. I said, oh, wish you hadn't have done that. We could have made some money and fixed the plans. He goes, oh, I don't want to get into any of that. I said, okay. So then, you know, several months later, every day I had a routine. I'd get up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, walk out there and pick up a newspaper that the kid would never get in the yard. You know, so I'm out there every morning saying hi to folks, walking around, what they do in the communities. The women are walking, and you know what I mean? Just people walking around in the morning getting exercise in a community that's retired, you know. So I'm going, okay. Every day I did that, like clockwork. You know, sometimes 10 minutes less, 10 minutes more. This one morning I go out and I notice a couple coming with a big German Shepherd, and they were in sweatpants. Then I noticed the telephone company truck was across the street, bucket up in the air, and there was a guy working on the thing. And I'm going, wow. And then down the street was a florist van, and I'm going, wow, it's pretty busy out here this morning for, you know, 8 o'clock. You know? And then before I could get to the newspaper, the guy in the bucket slung around with an automatic rifle. The two in the sweatpants and the German Shepherd was coming at me, barking and growling with guns drawn. The florist van zips around and 5 agents jump out and tell me I'm under arrest for this or that. And I'm going, wow, wait, what the fuck? You know, the way they did that, it was like just, what the fuck? And then, you know, they arrested me, but they let me go that afternoon because they didn't have the right answers, I guess, to arrest me. And
what did they arrest you for?
Something to do with fucking pot or something, I don't know. I mean, it was
no, it didn't have anything to do with that.
So anyways, my attorney and I got out that afternoon and went home, but I mean, it was like, what the fuck? The way they did that, it was just amazing. And then I went to meet a couple of gangster friends at a restaurant and have dinner with them. The parking lot was full, so I had to park way in the back of the parking lot. And when I pulled up, there was a car facing me, like in a parking lot. And both of these guys were turned around in the seats with a camera with a telephoto lens that went from the front seat and rested on the back seat. And they were taking pictures of the restaurant. So they didn't notice that I'd pulled up, so I walked over and I went on the window. And I said, what are y'all doing? Oh, it's our private business. Move along, move along. Private business, move along. So I went up to the restaurant. Here's all my cronies sitting at a table and a window right there in the front of the restaurant. I walked in and I said, hey fellas, grab your drinks. We're going to change tables. I said, we got somebody in the parking lot taking pretty pictures. We all went to the back of the restaurant. Yeah, and then they had the gall to come in the restaurant and walk in the back of the restaurant. I said, that's 2 guys that were taking pictures there, everybody. I said, y'all know who they are. That's the two that was in the car taking the pictures. They looked at me and went out. What the fuck? I'm not gonna let that happen.
Wow.
But here's one, when they finally did get me down there, they had pictures. And I beat them out of these pictures, but they had pictures of me unloading a sailboat pot in my backyard on the intercoastal, Florida. They had these nice colored glossies, and then they had me sitting with a guy I knew, in his backyard having a drink and smoking a joint. There was no way they could have got that picture, bro. They didn't have really drones back then. There wasn't a tree big enough to somebody be hiding in the top. I don't have a clue how they got these pictures. So when we all got in front of the judges and everything, they said, well, you know Jose Ramirez? And I said, no, I don't. And they said, well, are you sure you don't? I said, I'm positive I don't. And they said, what about this picture? That's Jose Ramirez and you having a cocktail in his backyard. I said, that's Bobby Jones. I said, that's not Jose Ramirez. I said, that's Bobby Jones. Yeah, he's my friend. Bobby Jones. I said, yeah. They didn't want to hear all that. So then it was time to go to trial, and they had all these fancy pictures of me unloading the boat in the backyard. Well, I had my private investigators go out in an airplane and fly all around Fort Lauderdale. We're talking St. Petersburg on the other shore, right? And they took pictures of all the buildings they could find that looked anything remotely like my dock and my backyard, in the house and whatnot. So I had like 10 pictures of a backyard that wasn't my backyard that looked like my backyard. Took 1,000 photos, but I mean, we sorted through it and found pictures that looked just like my backyard. So my attorney stood up and said, showed the picture to the DEA head guy and says, is this the defendant's backyard? Oh, yes, sir. This the defendant's backyard? Yes, sir, it is. We've been under surveillance for some time. I know what it looks like. Is this the backyard? Yes, it is. And my attorney turned the pictures around and said, well, this is 3344 Bay Road, Fort Lauderdale. This is 1617, Skippy Lane on, Cocoa Beach. And this is all the way from Miami to fucking Jacksonville. I had pictures there that they were agreeing that it was my backyard. So the attorney said, these folks obviously are going by a photograph that they can't even prove where the photograph came from. So that kind of threw all the photographs out of court.
Wow.
And then I had a neighbor lady across the intercoastal from me. She was the nosiest bitch ever. And one time I was unloading, right, and she shows up in the driveway. She goes, Ricky, she goes, I don't think you're doing the right things. I said, what do you mean, ma'am? And she goes, all those packages off the boat. She goes, I know what that is. I said, it's blue jeans. And I'm smuggling in from out of the country. And she goes, no, Ricky, it's marijuana. She goes, you be careful. Well, the feds went to her when they were doing the investigation and had a prime witness she was going to go testify. Well, she did. She showed up in court and she testified. They asked her, and what exactly did you see? And she goes, I see Ricky over there all the time enjoying his backyard. And once in a while he has friends that come with boats, but I've never seen anything, and I look right at his backyard all the time. She goes, except one time. She goes, I think he probably had too many girls there. And she looked at me and she goes, like that? I said, yeah, thank you very much, dear. I said, you're a sweetheart. Yeah, but she could have smoked me, but she didn't.
Wow.
I was arrested 28 times during my life.
28 times.
Yeah, with felony, drug smuggling, money laundering, bank fraud, conspiracies, this, that. Only convicted twice. So they were on to me and after me, but I was just a little slinkier than they thought. So, yeah. As I said, they were going to federal prisons and finding people that wanted to lie in court to help get them out of their sentence. I didn't know any of these guys that testified against me. Never seen 2 or 3 of the boys. Never seen them in my life. Had no connection with them. That's whatsoever, ever.
Right.
Oh, he's our friend. We've known him forever. That's Mr. Holmes from right there. I mean, Yeah, that's what they did to me in court. I'm going, what the fuck? And then they had that one big guy that was going to come in there and just put the cap right on it so I could get a life sentence. And then he ODs in a hotel room the night before trial. What the fuck? So they come to me. You killed him! I said, oh, excuse me? You got me locked down in prison. How did I get out and go do that at a hotel and run it full of cocaine? I can't help it if your key witness was a fucking coke junkie. I said, I didn't have nothing to do with it, you fucking idiots. Oh, get this, I was in federal prison, and the feds come to me. First off, they tricked me to go to medical. They called me to medical, so I go to medical. And one of the sergeants goes, somebody wants to talk to you. So they put me in a room with a table, 4 chairs, one behind the table and 3 chairs in front. So I sat in the one chair. Pretty soon the room filled up. DEA, FBI, IRS. I said, okay. So I'm sitting there and they all sit down and they said, you got some questions to answer. Looking under the table. Picked up his briefcase, looked under the briefcase. What are you looking for? I said, I know goddamn well you didn't come in here and not bring my attorney. I said, I know my attorney's in here somewhere. He's behind the door. I said, right, you're going to talk to me without my attorney? I said, okay, what's the deal? And they said, stop clowning around. We found it. What did you find? We found the money that you stashed. I said, wait a minute. You found the money that was lost, I guess, because you found it. And it's money that I stashed, that I lost, that you found, that now it's not lost. I said, I'm a little confused here. I said, so you found money that I lost that I didn't know I lost, and you found it. So, thanks. You gonna give it back? Oh, this isn't funny. I said, it is. It's a comical show with you 3 sitting here. And I started looking under the desk again. I said, you sure my attorney ain't in here? They all stormed out, all pissed off. I said, wow, wait, you guys found money that I lost that I didn't know I lost, and now you're going to keep that money that I lost that I didn't know I lost, and it don't make sense. Get out of here.
And they're charging me for it.
Yeah. And then my friend Jerome Sullivan called me up in New Hampshire. I was going to college. And I was living in my hometown, right? Kind of close by, going to college. He calls me up and says, Rick, you got to help me. I said, do what? He goes, I got 4 tons of pot. Got a stash somewhere up there in New Hampshire. Okay, come on up. We'll see if we can find something to rent. We'll figure it all out. So Jerome came up, and we went and rented Dr. DeWolf's old house. It was a 2-story colonial, big enough to put pot in. Out kind of out of the way. Nobody really paid much attention to it. And I said, well, so 2 U-Haul trucks later, with electric conveyor belts going up the stairs, we filled every room in those fucking buildings. All the bedrooms upstairs, bathroom, everything, just chuck box to the ceiling with bales of pot. Downstairs, we filled it all up except for the kitchen and the dining room. So we moved a bed into the dining room, and kind of because somebody had to stay there all the time with it. So I was going to help him while I went to school. When I got done class, I'd come do my homework. He'd go run around town, do what he wanted to do, right? So I said, I'll help you, Jerome. So we got it all in the house, and everything's fine. I said, what's the deal with this? And he goes, I don't know, these people from Chicago are coming to get it or something. He goes, I said, okay, Jerome. So I met one of the guys. His name was mentally with a name. Anyways, he had a limp, a real limp. He was like 6'2", big Italian guy. God damn, I can't think of his name. I will. Anyways, I'd met him before, because he'd come and checked on the house and everything and left. So then one day, I got a phone call from him at home, and he said, tomorrow I'm coming at 2 o'clock. Can you pick me up at Laconia Airport? I said, well, sure. I'll meet you there. So I picked him up in my Jeep. He goes, take me out to the house. Where's Jerome? I said, he's at the house. I said, I've been at class and I'm fixing to head out there. And he goes, well, come on, let's go. We'll go see Jerome for a minute. So we went out, we got out of the car, and he's got a briefcase with him, and takes the briefcase in his hand, a little one, and we go to the door, and I'm fixing to knock, so, I didn't have to get the key out. And he goes, don't knock. He goes, just use the key. I said, he's probably sleeping. So I opened the door, and sure enough, Jerome was laying on the bed, and we went in, and he goes, I said, would you like a beer? And he goes, sure. So I went to the refrigerator and got 2 bottles of Hefenreffer we were drinking, and I got the bottles in my hand. I turned around just in time to see this boy take a pistol with a silencer, put it up to Jerome's head, and shot it twice. Pop, pop, right there laying on the bed. I dropped the bottles. I said, "Yo, man." He goes, "Relax, Rick. We don't have a problem with you. We had a problem with him. You know, he's working with the cops." I said, "He's working with the cops, Jerome?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Holy fuck." He goes, "Don't panic." He goes, "We got no problem with you." He goes, "But what we got to do is go through this house and wipe every print down out of here that we can wipe, because you've been in this house and you don't need to be tied with this." I said, "Fine." So we went through it with rags, everything, refrigerator, doors, cabinets, and I mean plates, dishes, everything. And we left. And I took him back to the airport and he flew out. He flew a private plane. Before we left, he put $200,000 in cash on the briefcase, opened the briefcase and laid it on Jerome's chest. Left 4 tons of pot right there in the house. And he told me never to go back to that house. I said, "Fuck, the problem. I mean, I'm kind of tripping, you know, I'm in school. And this is fucked up here." So, next thing I know, the sheriff, which I knew, came to the house and goes, "Rick, what do you know about Jerome O'Sullivan down there?" I said, "I know he was in Dr. DeWolf's house, and I knew him, kind of." He goes, "Yeah, your Jeep's been down there a whole lot, Rick, so what do you know about this?" I said, "Nothing other than he was a nice guy and we always smoked pot." He goes, "Well," he goes, "when you were wiping things down, you forgot this." And he took a Tupperware bowl full of pot with a cover on it. He goes, "I take it you rolled marijuana up out of this bowl." I said, "Yes, sir, I did. I sat at the table and rolled joints up out of that bowl. That was his pot." He goes, "Yeah, your fingerprints are all over the inside of the bowl. Cover and stuff. That's one thing we didn't wipe down." I said, "God damn."
Wow.
Yeah, so then they got on me about killing him. I said, "I didn't kill that boy." I mean, 20 years later, they came to a federal prison and asked me about the murder of him again, and I, honest to God, and at that time, the guy that had killed him was deceased. So, Frankie Murillo was his name.
Frankie Murillo.
Yeah, and then he ended up going to prison down in Florida after all this for hiring somebody to kill a building inspector. He had a construction company and wasn't getting along with the county building instructor and hired somebody to kill him, and the guy snitched him out. So off Frankie went to prison, and when he got out, him and his wife got into the Salvation Army. I mean, the uniforms, the everything, and they just were going to church every day, and he became a leader of the Salvation Army down there in Florida, and what the fuck. You know, so I got to hang out with Frankie even after he'd done that for a minute or two. You know, Frank wasn't a bad guy. Frank really, he was a gangster. I mean, he was straight up gangster. So, anyways, there you go to that. And you can look that up online if you want. An unsolved murder case of Jerome O'Sullivan. And it'll tell you the whole thing I just told you. And I can draw you a picture of the house just as pretty as hell as if we put it in. Because Dr. DeWolf had a daughter named Melissa, and she used to, a person that I used to stay with after school, she would babysit Melissa too. Well, Melissa and I were, 4th, 5th grade. We argued, because, it was a girl, I was a guy. Well, then this person made us go out in the woodshed one afternoon and spend some time alone in the woodshed. Well, we started kissing, so Melissa and me became real good friends. So I kind of knew the house, and knew the doctor and her. They'd moved out years before. But yeah, 4 tons of pot, $200,000 and a dead body on a bed, left a message to somebody. That they didn't care about that pot, didn't care about money, didn't care about that man. So the message that they were putting across went to somebody. I don't know, it wasn't me.
Now I wonder if he was working with, like, the CIA,
who knows?
Who imported the stuff, and he was selling. I mean, wow.
That pot came from Colombia. It was all Colombian pot.
Oh yeah.
Per standard blue square bales they were at the time. They weren't flat ones. They were 40 to 50 pounds depending on packing. They didn't really weigh much. They just kind of packed it up. But it was interesting.